Great. All right. So I want to go over printing, but printability. So I have the vessel. I've exported these individually by selecting the body itself, or you can use you can select either on the component tree or the component on your hierarchy tree, or actually within and select just the individual body. Going to File, using the 3D print feature, not export, and saving those. But since I already did that, I'm not going to do that again. However, I want to talk about printability. And what that means is, let me open the vessel again here, and we'll have a look. And this, again, just the 3D viewer outside of Fusion. Looking at this, because of how things get 3D printed, it's a stacking of vertical layers. And right now, this is fine. However, let me open this within the Prusa slicer. So I'll open there, and I'm just going to drag and drop just the vessel because I just want to look at this. All right, so for one, this is why I gave you a scale of about 100 millimeters to 120 tall, because look at how large this print bed is. This print gives a virtual reference point. The print bed itself is 250 millimeters or 25 centimeters by 20 centimeters by 20 tall. It's a pretty big print bed. Now, technically, I actually could probably get, and we'll see if I can, both the tray and the vessel in. Now, that just dragged and dropped them, and it still has some information left from Fusion. However, I can't print these like this. These are just stacked. I cannot do that because it'll just fuse the two items together. So I'm going to select the auto arrange, and it's going to throw them on different points. So cool. Now, that said, remember, I'm stacking physical layers on top of one another, and I cannot print in space without there being some supports. We talked a little bit before about auto-generating supports, both with Prusa Slicer as well as with Formlabs, depending on if you're using the filament printers or the resin printers. Now, right now, if I go to generate a G-code file, which is how it exports from this program, the slice now, it's thinking about it and processing and thinking, and probably thinking a little bit longer. There we go. Now, this automatically generates a legend when it finishes for you to actually understand what the hell you're looking at here. And let's see if it generates any errors. Nothing like dead space. There we go. Okay. So right now, on the supports option over here, I don't have any supports active. So it's going to generate this without any scaffolding, without any supports. And up here in the legend, you can see what these actually mean. We got infill, we got the perimeter, which is just the edge. We got external perimeter, overhang. Now that is where you're concerned about if you have more of like a square edge. And we'll look at a couple of files here that might have issues. Honestly, I don't think it's going to look like anybody had any issues. Karina, yours might. And again, I just changed the view or the appearances to look. Okay, yes. So if we printed this vertically, because the lip here goes straight out like a shelf, it cannot be printed that way. However, within either of these programs, be it for the Prusa for the filament printers, the slicer, or the Formlabs program, it will auto generate scaffolding. And there's just supports. It's literally just a way to hold up, and so it can print on top of those without there being nothing there. So I'm going to select everywhere, and I want to show you the difference on this. Jeez. Heard like the whole house crackle with the wind. Might take a moment to regenerate. But anyway, what it's going to do is create scaffolding. Now, for the model I had, because it had more of curves and not any flat shelves, it's not going to need any. However, let me zoom in here. You can see, so on the vessel itself, doesn't really need any scaffolding. Underneath, it did generate some, but I think it'll be fine enough because I made mine so close to the bottom, which isn't necessarily a good thing design-wise, but it is okay. However, over here on the dish, it's such a shallow overhang that it ended up creating all of this scaffolding outside to help support the dish so that as it's physically 3D printing, it doesn't collapse or won't necessarily collapse, but so you won't get a bunch of like weird strings that just droop down because there was like nothing in space for it to stick to beforehand. And you can adjust the density of these filaments, or sorry, these supports, because of course there's always options. You can go into the print settings and go into support material, and it might be locked right now because I have simple selected. There we go. So you can dial back the density of those with spacing and all that such, but we'll play around with that stuff later. But mainly, I just wanted to show everybody that there are limits to what you can 3D print without scaffolding. Once you start adding scaffolding, no problem. And this is just automatically generated and will be printed of the same material that it already is made from. It's not like it's anything additional. And it really, while it looks like it's like really wasteful, it can be. But for here, honestly, it's not. So that's pretty much what happens. That's pretty much how you generate those. So I just wanted to go over that real quick. So that is printing and that is prepping your file and how to export from Fusion, ready for printing. And if you need to print two separate things separately, that's how you do that. We'll go over it more detail as people need, but just a couple things I wanted to make sure everybody is considering. Okay, and I will stop the video there. So thank you very much with that part.